Hey, so recently I saw a video by Rose White, Rose Red, and she talked about how a lot of how people view different eating disorders different ways. That's to say, they treat people with um, anorexia or bulimia in a different way than they would someone who has compulsive overeating as a problem, or EDNOS, eating disorder not otherwise specified. And these are like just as like deadly, but they like the media and the way we've been like socialized to treat one disorder over another is just like staggeringly different. And it's really like it's funny because I talked to my friend from Holland who he has like obviously like different ideals about like how to eat, and how like the US is like super like indulgent and excessive in all their endeavors, including food. And he was like detailing to me, like he knows all about like my eating issues, and he was like talking to me recently about how he was at a company party, and he was just disgusted by like overweight people that were indulging in like the company cake. And like he's a naturally like very thin guy, and he he's always been that way, still is. And he's never had to deal with like a lot of eating problems, or like he's been raised to see food in a different way, and he's never um thought to even self-medicate with food. And I thought that was really interesting because instead of just like being really like horrified and like how like embarrassed by that like mindset, I was asking him like what makes you think that, like what how is that so like surprising or like disgusting to you? And he was talking a lot about how it was like a lack of self-awareness and restraint. And I totally disagree with just that thinking. Like he's like, they know it's bad for them, like everyone knows like it's bad to like, if you're like unhealthy then you probably should like a lot of cake. But it's like, okay, like yeah, they know it's bad for them, but they have a problem. It's like it's not that they're not aware of their bodies, they so totally are. Like they're very aware of like how people are like judging them, because like we've always like since childhood people have always been very judgmental. And like even like if you grow up like a bigger kid, then like personally like my parents were like, I guess the only thing I can really describe it was like at a loss. They made me feel like like everyone was like staring like at me, very aware of like how I was like out of the norm. And so like saying things like suck it in, or making me like think that like everyone was just like super aware of like my body as as much as or more than I was. And that also like came up a lot with like in school, when people make assumptions about you because of, and they assume that you're lazy or you're stupid, or like all these other like trappings that come with this negative like stereotype that's perpetuated. And the problem is that people are pretty ignorant towards like these different disorders and how to deal with them, because we've been like the things that we associate with like um anorexia and bulimia is that like these people, like we assume that it's like a superficial thing a lot of the times, and that oh, how could we let the media portray such thin women to young girls, and photoshopping, and it a lot of the times that has a lot more to do with control. They're both like, all eating disorders are about control, I believe. You control like what's happening with your body, and you can like, it's a way to um be more perfect or like more protected. I know a lot of people fear like intimate like relationships, or like have issues with abuse, that they don't want to confront intimacy, and so they're protected by overeating. Or they're, I know in particular, Fiona Apple, she had an eating disorder. You might know from the song Paper Bag. And it was in response, in her mind, to the fact that, like, the weight of her curves came along with, like, the objectification of her body. And so she wanted to, like, become, like, undesirable and safe in that sense of, like, lacking those stereotypically feminine, or, like, the feminine aesthetic. To, like, deviate from that is to become less desirable. And part of us knows that. I know part of, like, why I started binge eating again this, like, past summer was because, like, I was struggling with emotional, like, issues, like, with my family, and control issues, that I felt like I was really out of control with a lot of things I couldn't help. And I just broke up with someone, and it was really, like, it was rough. And so I didn't want to be with, like, other people, you know. I didn't want to, like, have to deal with any of that stuff. And so I was binge eating again because I didn't want people to, like, sexualize me. I just didn't want to be that vulnerable anymore. And that's something, like, I struggle with. But I don't think people really acknowledge that. And there's so much shame surrounding overeating that I mean, it's not it's not always a disorder if you're overweight. Like, certainly a lot of the times it's just not having adequate resources. A lot of the times it's not being aware of nutritional information, but people are pretty ignorant to the fact that, like, it's not that someone wants to be fat a lot of the time. It's that, like, their circumstances have made it so it's so very difficult not to be. Like, that's whether you've been raised like, to see food a certain way, or that you're financially, like, the cheapest food is the worst for you. Organic food is so very expensive. And it's really difficult, like, to have to cope not only with, like, these paucities in your resources, but also with the stigma that comes along with the way you look. And so I might make another video later about this subtopic, but, like, when you are confronted with, like, a disorder like this, don't make assumptions about these people, because a lot of the times people are pretty educated on the issues at hand. And unless you're a therapist, unless you've been trained to deal with either kind of disorder, then, like, really don't take liberties with someone else's health. Like, make sure they get, like, the correct types of health. Don't shame or threaten to try to, like, get them to improve their behavior, because it's really not about, like, all those superficial things. It's like Rose White, Rose Red, I think it's called, her username. It's usually about something much more deep. It's usually psychological distress. So yeah, that's my vlog for the 14th. Oh, it's Pi Day, 3/14/2011. PI Day. So yeah, have a good one.